If you're on the channel because you saw the massive Dandadan Season 1 lore drop ahead of Season 2, then welcome, I'm happy to see you. And if you're new to the channel altogether, then I'm glad you came to join us, because I'll be doing weekly recaps of Dandadan for the entire second season. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the channel to get the vids that nobody else gets to see and to get these videos faster than anybody else. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and give you guys a refresher. So at the end of Season 1, Gigi was introduced as the childhood friend that Momo had a crush on, and they were in elementary school back then, but he had to move away to a secluded home in the woods with his parents, and fast forward, now he's a ladies' man that attends their high school temporarily, while Momo and Okarun are supposed to be helping him solve the paranormal issue that literally offed at least 4 spiritual exorcists and put his parents in the hospital. Momo's fine grandma, Granny Psycho, was the person he actually wanted to enlist the assistance of, but she couldn't use her powers away from her zone, so she was effectively useless to the case. Okaroon joins Momo on the journey to sort things out, even though he felt like the third wheel to their antics, because obviously they go way back. On the train, Gigi and Momo literally are joking so bad that Momo's literally in tears at one point, and Okaroon tried to fight back by talking about the occult, which works, but not in the way that we expected. Gigi takes interest, and those two low-key hit it off. When they arrive at the crib, there's seemingly nothing wrong, so Momo heads to the bath in the hot springs, and Gigi and Okaroon goof around at the house until they end up seeing a room on the outside that doesn't exist on the inside. This leads to a sledgehammer being used to break the wall down, where they're greeted by a room coated in talismans. Skip over to them checking on Momo, and we realize that she's in quite the predicament. Now, I don't know if the hot spring is mixed bathing or what, but these 5 devilishly goonish grown men decide to come take a dip. They don't even mind their manners and stay on one side of the water either. They dead get in the water, submerge themselves to the point that their glasses and their hair are the only things outside of the water, and start lurking towards her. 5 grown men that look like they could have kids her age, mind you. She tries to attack one that seems to be the leader, but it doesn't work, and bro grabs both of her wrists and forces her underwater. Had her spewing bubbles while old man balls and fatty tissues were draped over her trying to drown her. There was a random piece of stone that flies out of nowhere to knock the dude off of her, and then she has a chance to make a break for it. She gets out of the water and more of them try to swarm her, but nearby wooden planks take them out. So here we think she's almost free, but we were so wrong. First bro comes up from the water and grips a handful of little girl ankle trying to drag her back, but in another coincidental fashion, the entire locker room area falls apart and drops on bro as he tries to escape. Meanwhile, the doorway perfectly lands around Momo, leaving her unscathed. Come to find out, the whole time it was just Turbo Granny enjoying the hot spring as well, and that was when she locked in and decided, you know what, I might as well save Momo since I'm here, and I snuck along on the trip. We check back in on Okaroon and Gigi, and they decided to wait on Momo to make their next move. The doorbell rings, and Gigi immediately opens it up thinking it's Momo, but unfortunately it was the most unattractive granny in the show. Yes, uglier than OG Turbo Granny, and certainly uglier than the cute cat form. I mean, come on. Bro invites the granny and her 4 cronies in the door like an absolute idiot, and they go to town in the living room eating all the snacks in the crib. At first it seemed unjustified, then when she explained that they had been letting him stay in the house without paying rent while his parents were in the hospital, it all started to make sense. But stuff starts getting weird when they ask where he's been at the past few days, and he explains that he went to go pick up Okaroon, which was a friend of his that he wanted to come visit, which is obviously a lie we both know. It gets worse when they start pressing him because they know they told him not to bring spirit mediums to the crib because, quote, they don't have spirits. Definitely sounds like something somebody hiding spirits would say, but I don't know, maybe it's just me. The main granny wasn't having it though and puts a 12 gauge shotgun in Gigi's face. Now I'm confused because I didn't think it was that deep at all. Bro jokes a bit and says that she would go to jail if an officer saw and got the wrong idea, and boy, right as he says this, the 5 horsemen of the Hot Springs Goonpocalypse pop up acting all chummy with the police officer. The goonsman presses him about Okaroon and says, are you really close friends? And when he says yes, he asks questions that only Gigi's closest people should know about him, and Okaroon surprisingly pulls off the upset and answers correctly. But this just leads to the wackiest scene in the episode yet. Momo gets back, ready to chat with the boys, and opens up the front door to see a Diddy Party opening scene scene. Gigi and Okaroon are naked and on the floor battered, while the 5 goonsmen stand spread around the room with nothing but towelettes covering their old man bits. And the grannies are sitting at the table looking around at her like 5 different versions of Muscle Man from regular show if he was debuting in a Meat Canyon video. Momo immediately drops the bag and starts sliding on the creeps. I'm talking signature kick to the first dude's neck, yokes up the second guy with her spirit hands and knees him in the nose. Third dude comes in with a mallet and has her ducking and dodging until she finally puts a back heel kick into the side of his head for a concussive finisher. The last 2 came in on combo timing though, literally lobbing her into the air with a human-sized fan and the other cleaning up shop with a left-hand finisher of doom. She manages to defend herself at the last second though and uses a snack table to put the fan man on all 4s with his yams facing her. She gets the NFL kicker kickoff run-up going and booms him in his dusty nuts. I know it almost killed him because bro got lifted off the ground and covered his mouth with 2 hands to keep the noise quiet. The last dude takes this chance to grip her up and then headbutted her to make her see sounds and taste colors so he could, hold on. What the hell is he doing? Ref, officer, do something. Luckily, Turbo Granny popped out of the backpack and scared him into slipping on a bottle, and he slammed the back of his head on the floor. The rest of the clowns come to, and she tells them to leave before stuff gets wicked. But now it was the lead granny's turn to stand on business. She gets airborne with a double kick that sends Momo into the TV, then almost takes her head off with the next strike. She then keeps kicking and puts a hole in a nearby wall, and Momo is literally running for her life. The old lady must have had extrasensory abilities like a Pokemon because Momo sends a couch at her and she got low without looking behind her to see. More vicious swings, but Momo continues to evade. She jumps towards the kitchen and uses her powers to send every dish and appliance that she could towards her. But Granny proved why she's the OG by locking in and knocking all of the stuff away. I'm talking 8 trigrams, 64 palms type work. I thought she was Neji in another verse. She walks Momo down and then continues to put paws on her until she got the upward kick off that sent Momo flying. She breaks out her signature move and sends Momo through 2 walls into the room that was coated in talismans. At this point, I'm wondering where the hell Gigi and Okaroon are and what they're doing because there's no way they just decided to lay on the ground and watch this happen. Granny decides it's about time to get deadly because Momo was doing the most. But Momo explains that it was like looking at her breaking in and assaulting her friends from her point of view. The old people collectively explain how they're worshipping a serpent spirit and giving him sacrifices and everything for hundreds of years this has been going on. Even explaining that that was the reason why she even had 2 minutes to herself in the hot springs earlier before obviously getting assaulted. She tells Momo how the Keto family does all this to make sure the town can keep existing peacefully without having any sort of calamity cooking them. The granny explains that even though the home has changed form multiple times throughout the years, it has always been the place in which the sacrifices have occurred. They keep inviting people to stay in the home with the sole purpose being so that they can sacrifice them later. They plan on using Gigi's parents in order to do it, which is why they ended up hospitalized, but now they intended on using Okaroon and Momo as substitutes. The floor starts swallowing Momo up, and even as she uses her powers to hang on, the old people shove her back down. Gigi and Okaroon finally make another appearance and use the couch to shove the old people out of the way, but they fail to save Momo, and they all fall through the floor into a massive pit that had me thinking we were watching Gachiakura now. Gigi falls onto the actual snake, but it wasn't anything close to the deity, honestly. The entire Keto family jumps into position and starts stancing up like they're in a step show or at a probate getting ready to stroll. Okaroon, being the expert in this field, immediately peeps that it's not a snake. No, but it's actually a Mongolian earthworm. Momo tries to explain it to them, but they weren't listening. They just kept glazing and dancing for the worm, and then it literally ate all of them.
Jesus Christ.
Momo, Gigi, and Okaroon hide in a house nearby, and then a weird light shines in on them, keeping them stuck in place. Okaroon transforms and starts crawling towards Gigi, and then the episode closes. Without any further ado, episode 2. It starts out with Okaroon being half transformed into his Turbo Granny form, leaning over Gigi, but it gets really horror movie-esque really quickly. Bro starts pulling on either side of his cheeks and begins to draw blood and then also drool all over the floor. Gigi tries to stop him, but he smacks him across the face and starts grabbing his head, tweaking. You could tell he's in a state of severe mental anguish, and Gigi tries to stop him from trying to off himself repeatedly, first with a box cutter and secondly with a pair of scissors. He uses a cup to bait the worm away from them, but realizes that it only reacts to vibrations when it didn't react to Momo groaning in pain. When stopping Okaroon the second time, he realizes that Okaroon shouts, "Just let me die already," and this triggers a flashback in Gigi's head. We get clued into the reason why his parents are in the hospital when the flashback shows him cutting them down while they were trying to cook themselves. Momo tries to do it next, but fails when the glass that she used stabbed Turbo Granny multiple times instead. Turbo Granny shouts for Gigi to tie them up, and he listens before she reveals that the worm has been emitting psychic waves to get the human sacrifices to off themselves. When he asks why it doesn't affect him, Turbo Granny was about to drop some serious lore, but Momo starts using her powers to send glass shards to cook herself again. Gigi comes in with the clutch save, but gets cut up by the pieces of the shards in the process and lands directly in front of the worm. He gets sort of a last second awakening and allows the other glass shards to impale his arm while he grabs Momo, Okaroon, and Turbo Granny up by the teeth before running through the house and attempting to escape the worm. He runs out, and when he slips down the staircase, his luck has finally run out as he drops them, which leads to them attempting to jump over the ledge and cook themselves yet again. Gigi has another mental flash while looking dead at the worm, and suddenly a frail purple man in a diaper pulls up like he's straight out of a nursing home. Bro is floating and emitting a purple force field. Turbo Granny reveals that he's the evil eye, and one look at bro will make you self-delete. So this tells us that the evil eye and Mongolian earthworm were standing there going aura for aura. But in my eyes, they were just so ugly that they were going negative for negative. And for those that know math PEMDAS, well, that means they cancel each other out because it makes a positive or something like that. Momo and Okaroon return to sanity, and Okaroon transforms before blasting through the worm's body and cutting its head off. But it just grew back. They start running, and the evil eye flies over to Gigi before putting him in a genjutsu that shows him the former life of the evil eye spirit. We see him as a white-haired kid locked inside of a special room, looking out at children dancing and laughing in a nearby field. He practices dancing in the room while looking at his shadow that's cast on the ground from the setting sun. He remembers the smiles of the kids and makes a dehydrated grin before falling asleep on the dirt floor next. Then, the next scene has him tied up to a wooden beam facing an active volcano, as what seems to be the Keto family is in the background praying. The next scene had me wishing I was blind, bro, cause why did they pray while bro was getting burned alive by the lava? Then the memory ends with him saying, "I just wanted to play with the other kids." Like, dude, my literal heart just got torn by a 45-second clip. But wait, there's more. Bro respawns, but apparently only the kids can see him. Each time he gets acknowledged by the kids, the parents of the children attempt to off themselves. One time he tries to dance and calm one kid down that saw him while eating with his parents, but we get a scene switch and both of his parents decided to take a bite out of the dangle fruit, if you catch my drift. The granny of the Keto family that first set bro up to get burned at the stake was talking to her family members and determined that the leftover boy whose parents had just passed would be offered to the great serpent. Try as he may, the ghost of the spirit boy couldn't untie the boy that was locked inside of the house. It's revealed that the family has been locking them inside of the homes and building new ones on top of the old homes after Momo tried to pry the evil eye off Gigi, but he told her that he wasn't a bad guy and ran off to free him from the lowest level. When he reached the bottom floor, he removed the plank that was on the door and opened it to see the mummified and burned body of the spirit tied to a stake. Momo and Turbo Granny failed to understand the nature of the spirit, but he said that he did, and even when the earthworm started to secrete its sticky goo all over the place, Gigi held steadfast in order to try and help the spirit of the boy. He ends up being teleported into the room back in the memories of the boy and agrees to play with him forever, which seems like a big mistake because on the outside it looks like his body's being taken over, and Turbo Granny taunts him for listening before the Mongolian earthworm's goo melts the roof and pins them all to the floor. It comes in for the finishing blow, and then something impressive happens. Gigi gives it the meanest right hook and then sends a sweeping kick with crazy impact frames. We realize very quickly that this situation was closer to Okaroon when Turbo Granny first took over his body than any symbiotic relationship, because bro immediately turns his attention and starts beating on Momo. The worm tries to slide on him again and he charges up some sort of spirit ball before kicking it around to continuously strike it. I'ma fit the right time. Short damage, I say he gets piped now. The worm retreats into the dirt when it realizes it's outclassed, and he turns his attention to Momo and Turbo Granny once again. Turbo Granny clarifies that Granny Psycho wasn't just glazing Gigi when she called him a genius repeatedly in season 1. He had a ridiculously strong affinity for spiritual power, and his body was extremely athletic, making him the ideal host for a spirit looking to possess somebody. The evil eye turns its attention to Momo and kicks the ball of souls at her at point blank range. Momo holds off the ball, but gets snuck from the side and sent into a nearby wall. He tosses the ball in the air again to kick it and end her, but just as his leg connects to the ball, so does Okaroon's. My goat! This part of me was so geeked for our nerdy king. Bro literally said, "You're getting an ass whooping because no one hits Momo." And then the episode ends. If you made it this far in the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and become a member of the channel to help support the content. And like always, AYC, what you got for me?
Your theme is peace.